What's something that sounded harmless until you experienced it yourself? That 9-hour period between back-to-back work shifts feels like a slightly longer and slightly more dystopian lunch break rather than being home. When you leave work at 10 p.m. to be back at 7 a.m. for another 13-hour shift. Migraines. It's not just a headache, it fully incapacitates you. People are way too dismissive of what having a migraine actually entails. My husband is a migraine sufferer. He literally has to lay in a darkened room with no sound. About 50% of the time, he'll vomit. For me, it was yoga. Like, everyone's like, oh, it's so relaxing, super chill. And I thought, cool, I'll just stretch a bit and breathe. Nope. My first class felt like a full-on circus act. I always thought anxiety was nothing serious until I experienced it myself. A panic attack. It's the scariest feeling in the world. My pet peeve is when people use it flippantly, saying, I almost had a panic attack when describing a stressful situation. Panic ain't stress, it's terror. Kidney stones. Yikes. Like mini ninja stars going down your urethra. Just push through it. Turns out, burnout doesn't feel dramatic. It feels quiet, numb, and like you slowly stop being yourself. My fiancé has a heavy burnout that gave him depression and anxiety. It took him time to get over them. He works hard every day, works his ass off like crazy, actually, but he always leaves time to fully relax and get back to his good mindset. Pushing through it doesn't mean working hard. It means working past your own mental health, which is way too fine and fragile a line. Burnout is definitely a thing, and it's such a numbing feeling. Your phrase, you slowly stop being yourself, is so accurate, you almost don't realize it. Thankfully, I had someone who saw the change in me and pointed it out, so I was able to break the cycle. New job, new priorities. Now I'll do my 8 hours and get out. I'm paid for 8 and I give 8. The rest is for the family or just downtime. The hustle culture isn't worth the money or the toll it takes on you, mentally and physically. You'll get to use it. Over time, you can slowly adapt to stress, unhappiness, or exhaustion without realizing it is wearing you down, until you lose so much of yourself that you fade into nothing. Words. You never know what others are going through. I choose my words more wisely these days, with 2 kids. Just one more episode at 11 p.m. on a work night. Postpartum depression. Sleep paralysis. I have had it on and off my whole adult life. I used to work with a guy who came into the store looking really rough one day. When I asked what happened, he basically said, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm pretty sure my house is haunted." And then proceeded to describe the most absolutely textbook sleep paralysis episodes he'd been experiencing. I was really glad to be able to convince him he wasn't insane or being tormented by ghosts. Heart palpitations. Not totally debilitating, but very annoying. You muted love. Damn, that was way worse than I thought it'd be. Fake it till you make it. I wanted to lose weight. Instead, I almost lost my life due to developing an eating disorder. A 4th martini. Burnout sounds like being tired until you hit the version where your brain just refuses to start simple tasks and everything feels vaguely threatening for no reason. You don't even feel sad, just hollow and stuck. Also, your tolerance for minor noises disappears, which feels unfair. The 24 hours before a colonoscopy. That was not fun. The procedure itself, no issues. Driving into a ditch. All throughout my childhood, I'd hear people say they drove into the ditch, so they pushed themselves out and kept going. It's not always a big deal. What I didn't realize was terminology. If someone strays off the road and flips their car, they don't say, I drove into the ditch. They say, I rolled my car, and don't specify they landed in the ditch. Same with hitting a tree. You say that instead. So the first time I hit a mild drift when going too fast in winter and oversteered, because who doesn't, the first time I ended up in the ditch. And then, about 2 seconds later, ended up partially mounted on a fence post. It was scary. Crowd crush. Grade A Tour 2022 during the Suicide Boys set. The venue was outdoors, all pavement angled inwards toward the stage, with everyone pressing forward as well as falling forward due to the pavement. It went from everyone singing every single lyric to a really hype set to the most ominous feeling as everyone fell entirely silent. The feeling of life or death immediately washed over. You couldn't breathe, people pressed into your chest, your back, and to your sides so tightly, like a 500-pound pressure so hard you couldn't expand your chest to breathe in. So you had to make do with the amount of air that was in your lungs. You couldn't raise your arms or even move them to get your phone out of your pocket. Everyone around me was squished up to me without wanting to be, and we went just pure silent for a few minutes. Somehow I was pushed upwards due to the flesh mass around me. Soul was on my tiptoes, and I knew for a fact if I fell or lost my footing, everyone will unwillingly fall in, and I was going to die. It was pure silence, and someone probably 20 feet further out screamed for everyone else to move. And that's all we heard anymore for the rest of the song, as we were all purely silent. I just thought since that day, if I wore my boots with high heels, I would have fucked up my footing and genuinely died and others around me. Thank God I went cozy instead for this one. Definitely a scary experience. Fatigue. In the medical sense, not just being very tired. It's the kind of tired that you can't function, and sleeping doesn't help. Free climbing down a cliff face. I was a novice, and I had little problem climbing up about 80 feet to a small cave, Grand Canyon. Enjoyed the view, then started the climb down and was scared shitless. Could not see the hand and footholds below me when you were hugging a cliff like that. People in my group helped me with verbal cues. I dropped the final 20 feet or so after almost an hour of climbing back down. Having kids. Not actually giving birth, but having to raise those little crotch goblins. No one told me how much they love throwing up in their beds at 3 in the morning. Being non-confrontational as a standard action. Night shift and day shift within one work week. Had to work a partial day shift before going to night shift before returning to day shift. My sleep schedule was ruined for the next few weeks. Low-speed car wreck. My body definitely felt the force of that 25 miles per hour car that T-boned us. You'll get used to it. Yeah, no. You don't really get used to it. You just stop reacting as much as you used to. Kinda numb it out and move on. But it doesn't mean that it stops sucking though.